would advise us to be more mindful, just more mindful of why we use certain terms and the actual origin behind the term. Many of these things are put in place to divide us more than uplift us. Because when we think about this whole concept of, correcting someone when they call our hair dreads, it's almost as if we start tearing down people in our own community for just doing what they're used to doing or saying in their culture. In this culture that we've built, and we make a very big deal out of something that is our history, and it ends up doing more division because we tear down people in our own community more than we build each other up. Hey y'all, welcome back to Holistic Flow. I am your girl, Lolo. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the difference between calling your hair, whether you call it locks, dreadlocks, dreads, or any other term, but mostly the difference in between locks and dreads, and why many people are offended by certain terms, why to some people they're not so offended, using some history, and also some personal experiences. Even though this video is going to be opinionated, I will try my best not to let my opinions or lived experiences skew my perception of how I deliver the content. I know there are a lot of very heavy feelings about the words, especially dreads and dreadlocks. Personally, I haven't yet addressed this on my channel. I think I may have addressed it in one of my recent live streams of like a lock Q&A when somebody probably asked me, and I think I said I would do a video on it. So here is that video, and I've been waiting a while to do it. I just got a couple of sources together that I thought were very, very credible. I will list all of the sources, all of the videos that I watched or read, some articles. I'll list all of those in the description box below so you can take a look at those, make sure they're credible as well to your liking. There's a lot of topics that I will discuss in this video that all come full circle around the way in which we not only view our hair, but why we choose to use certain terms, the purpose behind our feelings about those terms, and then how it relates to spirituality. But before I get into this video, if you are new here to my channel, hello. Here on Holistic Flow, we are creating a safe space, a space for self-love, self-growth, and maturity, and we're taking a journey towards an overall better mind, body, and spirit connection. If you're with that, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel, turn on your notifications so you know whenever I upload a new video. If you have done that, thank you so much, and let's get into this video. So when I first started my lock journey, I quickly realized that most people prefer their hair to be called locks rather than dreadlocks because of the connotation around the word dread, as in dreadful, more so of like a connotation used in like a form of hate. And because dread is used in front of the word locks, people don't like to use the term dreadlocks or dreads to describe their hair, which is understandable because nobody wants to use something that makes them feel negative to describe themselves. The lock journey is a journey of self-discovery, self-growth, self-love, and calling yourself or characterizing yourself by something that has a negative connotation pretty much counteracts everything that you're trying to do through that journey. But I think in this video, looking more so at the history behind the words that we're saying and the actual, definitions, the actual meanings, can help us better be able to decipher, for ourselves really what's better for us. So there are 3 definitions of the word dread. So the first one is dread the verb, and it is to anticipate with great apprehension or fear. Then we have dread the noun, which means great fear or apprehension. Basically, just the first definition reiterated. Then we have dread as an adjective, which is greatly feared or dreadful. All three of those definitions exemplify some type of fear, and the word fear plays into the purpose of this whole video. A lot of us think fear in the sense that you're scared of something. However, fear can also mean a great sense of you being in awe of something, maybe not knowing a lot about something, so you're just maybe more so curious about it. Fear can also mean a lack of knowledge about something, so you're just bewildered by it, you're just amazed by it. I urge you to keep these definitions in mind as we go throughout the rest of the video, because it will start coming more so full circle. So we'll go ahead and get into the history behind the word dreadlocks and where they came from, based upon articles that I read and also videos that I've watched here on YouTube from credible sources, from Locticians, people who have worked with multiple heads of locks. And again, I'll cite all of them down below so you can take a look at them, make sure they're credible to your liking as well. So the origin of the word dreadlocks comes from the Buffalo Soldiers. So according to history.com, the Buffalo Soldiers were a regiment that formed and that served after the Civil War, after a law was passed in the year 1866 that allowed the army to form regiments with African American soldiers. So it was an all-black military that was fighting against the Native Indians. The Indians gave the Buffalo Soldiers their name because of a few things, and this is now according to Chris McDread, who is a YouTuber here. He's a loctician and he's worked with many heads of hair, and he also teaches other locticians. So this is some information from his video. So the Indians coined the name the Buffalo Soldiers from their number one, their hair. Their hair was sort of like buffalo hair, as the Indians would say, Buffalo Soldiers, and also the color of their skin, dark skin. And so now there was a regiment within the Buffalo Soldiers, and because of the might with which they fought, the Indians were calling them the Dreaded Brothers with Locks. And dreaded in the sense that they feared them because of the might with which they fought. The might, the valor, the tenacity, whatever word you want to use. Eventually it got shortened into the Dreadlock Brothers. You can refer to this term as, Dreadlock Brothers or Dreads or Dreadlock Rastas. Lauryn Hill actually mentions it in a song, a Fuji song called Ready or Not.
Ready or not, refugees taking over. The Buffalo Soldier, Dreadlock Rasta.
So if you think of Goldilocks, right? She obviously doesn't have the locks that I have, or like somebody, a black person with locks would have. Goldilocks has locks that are golden, meaning she has bundles of hair that are wrapped in each other. But the word locks itself just means like a bundle of hair. So when you put dread with locks, a dreaded lock of hair, or a lock of hair that is feared by other people who see it, because that's really what dread means. It literally means fear. When people say I don't fear anything, the only thing I fear is God, or the only person or entity or being that I fear is God. And a lot of people wonder, like, why would you fear God if God is supposed to be a all-knowing, all-powerful, gracious being, right? Well, if you look at fear and associated with not fear as in it makes you want to cower away, but fear as in you're in awe of it, because your mind can't really wrap around the power and the divinity of that source or that entity. And that's the type of fear that I believe that people had of the Buffalo Soldiers. And it's actually a fear that people will have of you if you are showing a great amount of power or a great amount of strength. In another YouTube video I actually saw of a Jamaican brother, he was actually talking about his experience having locks, and that he knows, from his ancestry that locks are actually protection against animals that were trying to harm you. Jamaicans, they usually grow their locks very thick, free form, and some not really in a manicured state, so it stands out. Definitely, it actually scares away animals. And so it's not only protection against the sun, protection of your own physical body, and then also protection spiritually. Because when you get into the spiritual side of locks, right? When you think of what a lock is, like we said, it's a bundle of hair. Afro textured hair is the only type of hair that is in a sort of coil or tight spiral. And when you think of anything that's in like a spiral or a coil, it conducts movement, it conducts energy. When you think of a antenna or a radio wave or anything that conducts movement or conducts energy, electricity, it's always in a spiral motion. When you have a bunch of those hairs in a lock, in a bundle of hair, and it stays there, it's energetic. Think about how much energy that conducts right there. And then when you think about the purpose of hair, what happens when you go from a hot temperature outside and come into the very cool, very air-conditioned inside? You probably get goosebumps on your arms and your hair starts to stand up, right? Because our hair, the purpose of our hair is to sense the change in environment, not just the change in temperature, but the change in environment, meaning spiritually, vibrationally, right? So when you take a bundle of hair that is spiral or coily and conducts all that energy, and you have it in a bundle, and the purpose of hair is to do just that, to sense different energies, you can think about how it can help us protect our own self from negative energies. And also spiritually and historically, our hair and our locks help us connect with our higher power. And that's part of African spirituality, what they believe the significance of our hair is, and that is our crown and the closest thing to the heavens. They believe that our hair helps us communicate more with our higher power. So when you take all that information and you put it towards someone who doesn't know that information, and they look at your hair all locked up, and they've never seen that before, they don't know what that is, and they don't know why you have your hair like that. Think about the fear in them, not the fear that they are shaking, in their boots. I mean, they might be, but the fear that your hair holds great power. Because our hair is our strength, you can imagine the strength that the Buffalo Soldiers got from their hair, which allowed them to be even named the Buffalo Soldiers because of how strong they fought. Biblically, the story of Samson and Delilah in the Bible, Samson's hair was his strength. And who's to say Samson didn't have locks? By the way, if you have not seen my Locs and spirituality video or my African American hair and spirituality video, you can catch it, and I'll put it in a card right here, and I'll also put the link in the description as well. I definitely recommend you watching it because I went way more in depth just for the sake of, switching it up. I wanted to get more so into the historical side of the term dreadlocks and locks. Sometimes we do get caught up in the terms. However, when we also look back at history and Black history, something that we've been able to do very well is to take something that was used against us to belittle us, put our own spin on it, and then used it to empower ourselves. And we've done that with a couple things, such as the N-word. A lot of Black people don't think it's right to say it. A lot of Black people do. But whether you say it or not, right? The reason why is because it was once used by slave owners, by white people. And so we take that trauma, put a little spin on it so that now a lot of Black people use it as a term of endearment. And that's only a language that we know how to speak. The same thing with the word nappy. Nappy is a origin from slavery times, because if you look back at African spirituality, again, we knew a lot about our hair before the transatlantic slave trade, and we were taken from our country brought over to America. But guess what? We weren't able to take some of the main ingredients and products and tools that we had back on the land of resources to take care of our hair, right? So when we got here, we had a lack of knowledge about how to take care of our hair. We had a lack of resources, so we had to use what was available on the plantations, which wasn't much. Because of that, there was a now stigma that our hair is just nappy, that it's unkempt, that it's just very hard to deal with, right? Because of that divide. That's where the word nappy came from, until we kind of took it and reclaimed it as a word to empower ourselves to wear textured styles, protective styles, and even locks or dreadlocks. Some people think that if somebody calls their hair nappy, it's an insult to them. Other people think that if somebody calls their hair nappy, it uplifts them, it empowers them. And I believe it's the same with the word dreads or dreadlocks. I think overall, I would advise us to be more mindful, just more mindful of why we use certain terms. Many of these things are put in place to divide us more than uplift us. Because when we think about this whole concept of, correcting someone when they call our hair dreads, it's almost as if we start tearing down people in our own community for just doing what they're used to doing or saying in their culture. In this culture that we've built, and we make a very big deal out of something that is our history, and it ends up doing more division because we tear down people in our own community more than we build each other up. And sometimes it becomes more of a distraction than anything, and because of that, it takes away from the central message that you're trying to even establish in the first place of uplifting, because you end up tearing each other down in the end. And I believe that somewhat the division between whether to call our hair locks or dreadlocks or dreads is one of those distractions that really serves to put our people against each other when we're really, supposed to be coming together on it. Chris McDread, who was the YouTuber I was talking about earlier, he has worked with, I think he believed like 7 different nationalities all over the globe doing their locks. The only people who call their hair locks instead of dreadlocks are Black people in America, aka African American. Some people don't like the term African American, but Black people in America. And he said that to show that sometimes our focus for doing certain things or saying certain things is just not on the most productive thing or the most efficient thing. Taking things that were part of culture, the African history, the African spirituality, and twisting it and making it in a way that African Americans think that that thing is bad or even evil when it comes to our hair, when it comes to our spirituality, when it comes to different religions, when it comes to different customs or even diets. There's a long-standing history in America for things that were part of what we know naturally, and taking that and twisting it and using it to make us fight against each other and tear each other down. And because of this, I personally accept the term locks, dreadlocks, dreads, or whatever you want to call your head of hair. But I hope that this video is insightful for somebody and that it provided some new information in a way that, the perception is not too skewed, and really you more so see the facts and the history behind reasons that I'm saying what I'm saying, rather than seeing my opinion on it. And I would love to hear your comments down below, what you think of this video, what you think of this topic. What do you call your hair? Call it locks or dreadlocks, or do you just call it your hair? Because at the end of the day, it's just what grows out of our scalp, So I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, I'm sending peace your way, love your way, and joy to you, your family, and your friends. All right, y'all. Peace.